welcome back to the show, my people. And yeah, Nigeria 2, Tanzania 1. And it's the opening match of the AFCON for the Super Eagles. And it was not the most, perfect match for the Super Eagles. You can understand that it's still the first match for the Super Eagles, and they're still trying to understand themselves, trying to create a little bit of chemistry, which is actually not an excuse because these players have played together before. But it's still at the start of the competition, and you wouldn't expect them to be at the very, very best. As the competition grows, they grow with it, and we can just count on the fact that the Super Eagles are going to get better, right? When I look at the game overall, I thought it was a very, very good performance. But, I had my issues when I saw the lineup, and it was something that I was actually contemplating on I wanted to see what Eric Kelly was going to come out with, and I was saying to myself that is he going to come out with a 4-4-2 formation, because they did very, very well with this formation, especially towards the ending of the qualifiers for the World Cup. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get through to the next stage, but I wanted to see what Eric Kelly came out with for this AFCON, and he has stuck to the 4-4-2 formation. Akko Adams and Osimhen up front with Chukwueze and Lookman behind him. But it's a very good formation. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's a very direct one, and we've seen glimpses of how direct this Super Eagles can be, especially when they're playing with a 4-4-2 formation. But the problem is the personnel, right? We have Lookman and Chukwueze always wanting to play behind or in between, the midfield. They're just playing in those holes, those pocket spaces. They always want to be there. They're not like out and out wide wingers. They always want to come into the midfield, and it just makes us a little bit narrow. Now, because Chukwueze and Lookman are not wingers that want to play out wide, we now need our fullbacks to cover the width, to provide width for us, because you need somebody out wide. And I think it's a problem because we're always going to be having overlapping with fullbacks. So it kind of leaves us open for a counter attack, especially when we lose the ball. Well, we look vulnerable. We look very open. And it's a problem because you could see this Tanzania side were kind of, they caused us a little bit of problems today. Yes, we looked vulnerable at the back. So it begs the question, should we continue with this formation? Because I thought Lookman actually, in the second half, when we actually went back to a very, very, very similar formation in a 4-2-3-1 with Lookman behind Osimhen and then Simon and Bashiru out wide. We looked, a little bit compact and defensively kind of good. You could see those spaces right in there again, because Lookman and Bashiru are always going to come back to help the defense. But that wasn't the case in the first half. We looked very open. We looked very, very open. So I don't know. Do you want to? Does it actually go on with, especially against Tunisia? I would like to see what it comes out with, because Tunisia are going to be a very different side to this other side. Yes, and we need to win that match. We need to. In fact, I'm looking at winning all our games in this group stage. Yes, we are supposed to make a statement. We need to. We need to make a statement in this AFCON, especially after losing the finals, the last edition. We need to make a statement in this AFCON, right? And I don't know, honestly, because I do feel like Eric is going to go on with this two-man up front formation, and it's I don't know, it just worries me, man. It worries me, honestly. It worries me. Aside that, I thought Iwobi was very, very, very brilliant today in the match. He was just coordinating play from deep, and that's the thing because I was thinking about Eric Chile actually bringing in a more defensive minded midfielder in Onyedika and then pushing Iwobi out wide because we've seen how brilliant he can be when he plays wide for Fulham, his club side, so that it looks a little bit balanced. You know, in terms of us defending, we have two bodies in midfield who can challenge and be aggressive on the ball, right? But then when you do that, you lose the creativity that Iwobi brings to that midfield, which is a problem. I don't think at the stance now in the Super Eagles, there is not a player who can do what Iwobi does, which is bad because we're a country. We're not supposed to be lacking in terms of creativity. That's the problem with Super Eagles right now. We lack creativity. Iwobi is that player. Is only the player that can get on the ball and pick the right pass. Iwobi is the only person that can do it. But I do feel like Onyedika can provide a little bit if given the chance. But I just don't understand why he hasn't been given the chances yet. Even if Iwobi wasn't available today, we all know his successor was going to be Onyeka. And Onyeka is a very different player to Iwobi. He's more of a chaos type of player, off the ball kind of player. He's not a player who's going to dictate tempo, right? But anyways, it was a great performance from the team today, and Osimhen didn't have the best of games, but it happens. But I feel like he's going to look at his performance today and then work on it. Right, I was very, very impressed with Alco Adams. The runs he was making and how strong he was on the ball. I do feel like going forward, if they were to play a one-man striker, then he should be the one coming up for Osimhen instead of Paul Nacho. I just don't understand the inclusion of that guy in the Super Eagles right now. But the people who called him know why they called him. But I just don't see what he brings to the team aside from his height, which he doesn't really use well. He doesn't use that his height well, honestly. But anyways, it was a great performance, and Zaidu also didn't have the best of the games. But I still think, as of now, we are lacking defensive options. That's just the thing. So we have to be, a little bit. We just have to take what we see, honestly, from the people that are playing. Like I think they are trying their best. I don't think there's anything more we are going to ask of them to do. That they're giving us their best. Zaidu, Kevin Bassi, Ajayi, and Sam. We're not going to ask them to play like the players are missing. They're giving us what they have to give. All right. So great performance, but like I said, I would want to see Richelli filled out a one-man striker, and then with Lukman behind him. If it's going to be Osimhen, fine. If it's going to be Akko Adams, cool. But I'm not digging this two-man strike. I'm not. Not because I don't like what it brings to us in terms of attack. Obviously, I like the way we attack, especially when we counter. When we're on a counter and when we're in transition. I love seeing the options we have up front in terms of two strikers. But then in terms of defending, we look vulnerable. I don't like our shape when we defend. There's just so many spaces everywhere. And I feel like it all boils down to the fact that we're playing with two strikers and two wide wingers who are not very defensively, good. They're not good in tracking back. They're not good in helping out their fullback. So it's a problem. And also having a Iwobi in the middle of the park who's not very aggressive or a defensive-minded midfielder. So, like, you can see in terms of personnel, we're lacking defensive, bodies. So I would love Eric Chelle to come out with a little bit of tactical, tweak in the next game against Tanzania because I'm sorry against Tunisia because we're going to need it. I don't think we can do this 4-4-2 against Tunisia. It might work, it might not, but still we look vulnerable. I've said it, we look vulnerable when we're defending. But anyways, I'm looking forward to the next game against Tunisia. I think that will be a very very tough one, and that will show how good the Super Eagles are and how far they can reach. I think that match will determine if the Super Eagles are really ready for the AFCON. Yeah, but so yeah, you've come to the end of the video. And if you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you on the next.